Hi, my name is Aaron and this is my show, Reeducation, and today I'm going to talk about rape culture. And I know that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and some of you are having a bunch of red flags flare up immediately as soon as I use the word. So I'm going to give you a definition, or at least the one that I got from Google, and that is a sociological concept for a setting in which rape is pervasive and normalized due to societal attitudes about gender and sexuality. That basically means, through that definition that I gave you, that rape is normalized by our culture. And a lot of people would immediately say, well, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit. If you know anything about rape and our culture, you would know that it is highly illegal to do anything as far as rape or molestation or anything like that, and it's looked upon by the general public as being aberrant and disgusting. And so it should be, because anybody that does that is basically the lowest scum on the face of the earth. But for some reason, we still have a lot of rapes going on. Now, percentage-wise, the violent rape that happens in the ghetto that you would usually think about, where a girl is chased down in the street and thrown down behind some bushes, isn't necessarily the thing that happens the most often. That's not something that's normalized. That's not something that the public would ever think is okay. But things that we do tend to normalize is when we're preying upon people in certain situations, like men in prison. That's a perfect example of where the public doesn't really have a problem with the men in there getting raped. It's kind of a big joke talking about dropping the soap, right? That's because it's fairly normal for us to take somebody's freedom and rights away, even if it is a non-violent crime, and have them be raped or tortured and have it be completely normalized. That's a perfect example of a rape culture. Another one of these groups that we tend to isolate and single out is sex workers. For some reason it seems fine for the general public, or at least not even talked about, that sex workers get raped and molested more often than basically any other career, because it's something that involves them having to take their clothes off and actually use their body for work. Consent when it comes to sex workers, for some reason, seems like it doesn't have to be even thought about. Or the idea of respecting boundaries. For some reason, we see those people as being, well, our property because we paid however much money to have them for that hour. Again, that's another example of a rape culture. A culture that has normalized the rape and molestation of these workers. And of course, another example of this, which is blatantly obvious and on its face, is until 1993, it was completely legal in many states for you to rape your wife. Yeah, that's right. Consent didn't matter at all if you were married to her. For some reason, that meant that you could do whatever you wanted to them whenever you wanted to do it. They were basically your property. But a normal person on the street, if they go and they try to rape someone, they are going to go to jail. They are going to have the full force of the law come down on them, and there's going to be no way that they can stop it. Unless you're rich. Because of course, there's a two-tiered system when it comes to something that you and I can do compared to something that the elites can do, and there's at least one thing that the people on the left and the people on the right can agree on, and that's there's a lot of shady, nasty business that goes on with the elites and being sexual predators. I mean, that's the whole reason why the Q conspiracy was created in the first place. It basically was talking about how there's a child sex trafficking pedophile ring involving the Democratic Party. And on the left, there's the Me Too movement, and all of these people coming out and saying how they've been raped and molested by business CEOs, or movie executives, or famous actors, or famous comedians, or the church. And that's a big one right there. They're the old school elites. They've been around for a long fucking time, and they are known full round by everybody as being sexual predators, as having tons and tons of allegations and convictions of them actually raping and molesting children, choir boys, and so forth. So that is, again, an example of a rape culture. But it's not something that you or I are actively participating in. It's not something that we necessarily want anything to do with. We just happen to be involved. It's pervasive, systemic, if you will, and it's been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Yes, today, under capitalism, it can be quite a lucrative business to sell sexualized, over-sexualized women to the general public. It's something that makes a whole lot of money to the elites. And it's a very liberal way of looking at things, thinking that we should blame the entirety of the population of men for something that a small, select, elite group of people are doing. Liberalism always sides with the elites, and since most outlets are ran by liberals, then it's unlikely that they're going to say the actual problem is what it is. It's unlikely that they're going to point that finger in the direction of blame that it should be pointed at. And that is at those syphilitic-brained oligarchs that I've talked about time and time again. Now, sure, like I said, under capitalism, they can make a lot of money off of selling that sex, but before capitalism even existed, they had every incentive to treat those certain groups as property. It's not helpful to say things like hashtag all men. It's not hashtag all men. It's hashtag the elites. This is part of propaganda. This is how they make more profit. They make more money, or they get their rocks off however they so choose. This is a part of the way that we view our society. When we already have the society structured in an unjustified hierarchy that is based on ownership and domination, it's not unlikely that the people that get to the top of that system, that benefit the most from that structure, are going to be the same individuals that think that you are their property. They already basically own you anyway. You're forced by the threat of starvation or homelessness to work for them. They buy and sell your information online constantly, and they take away your freedoms every chance that they see fit. They cultivate your identity, and they make money off of you every possible way that they can. They already believe that they own you in every way. They already see you as their property. So why would them going the extra step in using you for sexual gratification be any different? And yes, I would be remiss to say that some rapist men do get a certain amount of benefit from having the system structured in the way that it is. As I said in my toxic masculinity video, it isn't the fact that masculinity is toxic. It's that there are toxic elements outside of masculinity that we for some reason couple to the idea of masculine behavior. And through our media, it's shown that masculine behavior has to some extent to do with the domination of, well, women. Now, of course, this happens over time. It's not something that happens necessarily all at once. If you show a little bit more skin or a little bit more risque behavior inside of a movie or a video game, then the next time you show something like that, it has to go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further until you're in a situation where sexuality and over-sexualization and things like that is pervasive. For example, it isn't the indie developers or the video game players that are perpetuating the idea that we should over-sexualize women in video games. That's a marketing decision made by a company, a corporation, that decides what they want to do with their property. Now, Of course, some people are going to find that great, that they are over-sexualizing women, and that, again, isn't something that we should necessarily be blaming that individual for. That is their consent being manufactured. That's something that allows the elites to make more money off of you. So if you have been desensitized to it, when you've gotten to a point where it's normal for us to over-sexualize women, then we are going to spend more money. Manufacturing consent, that is what that is called. But this is not something that exists inside of a vacuum. We live inside of a culture that perpetuates sex and sexuality more and more, sometimes in a very positive way, but it can also be in an incredibly negative and damaging way as well. So we have to be able to use our judgment and know when it is good and when it isn't. And that makes it a whole lot more difficult when people are making profit off of certain aspects of human sexual behavior. Anyway, here's the outro that I shot earlier when I was in a bit better of a mood. At least that's the way I look at it. If you do get a chance, please check out my Patreon. Every dollar does help fund this show. And check out the other links in the description too. My Discord server can be pretty fun sometimes. And, well, that's my show. My name is Aaron. Thanks for watching.